So I was 3, no, maybe 5 or 6. I stepped off the curb on a corner of 106th Street and 3rd Avenue. My mom looks back and reaches her hand like, come on. And I see this woman standing there waiting for the light to change, and she's poised and regal and deep, dark, midnight, blue black. And she's got an elongated neck with beads wrapped around her in all kinds of colors. And I'm thinking in that moment, wow, how beautiful. I look at the top of her head and I realize she's got no hair on her head. And I'm thinking just in that moment, if I live to be 50, I want to touch that kind of beauty and cut all my hair off. So we move up to the Bronx, and I'm living in 1500 Noble, and I done did every kind of do and don't to my hair, from Kool-Aid to conditioners with all kinds of stuff in it, and I'm walking down the hallway, and my mother and my brother's waiting at the door, and my brother's looking at what's coming out the room, and he's like, Mom, you gonna let her walk out this house like that? And she's like, shut it down, Tony Brown. Your sister's an artist, and she's expressing herself. So I move up to Riverdale, and I've now got a new do. My cousin Carla is a natural hairista, and she did some coil thing that has a pattern that looks almost like the pineapples. And I'm living in a neighborhood that's predominantly Jewish, so back in that moment in time, if I saw one brown person that looked like me, we came running towards each other like in slow motion, like in an old love story. A black person! So I'm pulling stuff out the back of my car, and I'm getting myself ready for my journey, and it's winter time now, and this guy walks by, and parking in Riverdale was horrendous. So, you know, everybody kind of had a little chit-chat about the parking rules and regulations, and the guy steps over to me and says something as I'm pulling stuff out of the back seat, and I looked at him, and, you know, he goes about his business, and he turns back around, and he says, oh, by the way, and Happy Kwanzaa. I was like that child 5 on the corner and the barehead sister, and I'm saying, he identified my culture. He could have said Merry Christmas or played it safe and said Happy Holidays, and I'm thinking, whoa, something going on here. So I walk into the house, and I'm thinking about, my cousin said, if you don't cut this out or unravel those coils, it's gonna lock, and it does, and I didn't care because I've got a culture that I gotta represent and preserve. And so now I'm living on the east side of the Bronx, and I'm dating this guy, and we're having a good time, and we have our weekends and all kinds of plans, and I'm at my studio painting and getting ready for a show, and I'm thinking about cutting my hair off, and I'm not quite 50, and I'm thinking about this locks that are down my back and the drama, and I'm thinking at this moment, let me call some folks up and see what they think. And I made 7 calls, and everybody, oh, you did everything to your hair. Go ahead, girl. You know you could rock whatever. So the last call was my once upon a time, and you know you got those once upon a times that you're still friends with way after. So my once upon a time, he says, I'll even cut your hair for you. So I get in my car, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and it took me 2 hours to convince him to cut my hair off, because now he's realizing, if you don't like it, I'm gonna be to blame for something. So he cuts it off and says, let me leave the 2 locks in the front so you got something to remember your journey. So I'm packing my bag the next night, and I'm getting ready to go to my new dude, and as I'm walking up the steps in his apartment, I'm like, what have I done? Because, you know, I just told him I did something surprising. I didn't tell him what. And I get in, and it's nice and toasty in there, and I'm taking things off as we're talking, but I'm not taking my hat off. And I'm realizing he's waiting like, come on in, the water's fine, because he's waiting to see what's under here, because he's now figured out the surprise is this. So I'm standing there, and finally I pull a hat off, and that whole weekend was different. Wasn't quite like we normally did. And I went home a little earlier than I usually do, and Next day, I'm thinking, wow, I didn't hear from him. So I'm in my studio getting ready, like I said, for the show, and I get the phone call, and he says, I'm not used to dating a woman with hair as short as mine, so, I can't do this. And I realized he was dating my hair. So I said in that fleeting moment, I want to celebrate women with the bare head, and unapologetically I shave off my head and I unveil and unlock, because I am a barehead woman.